Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Pakistan voter ID cards confirm Pahalgam terrorists. Pakistan links. Forensic evidence also established association of 3 terrorists with Lashkar-e-Taiba. Operation Akhal in J&K's Kulgam enters 4th day after 3 terrorists neutralized by security forces. Teams zeroing in on the remaining. Canadian report reveals 637 mob lynching deaths in Bangladesh in 2024-25, causes attributed to political unrest. UNSC to meet on Tuesday on Gaza's dire hostages situation as Hamas released chilling videos of poor conditions of Israeli captives. Hamas says Red Cross to get access only if aid corridors open. And in cricket, a dramatic finish expected on the 5th day of the final test at the Oval. England at 339 for 6, trail India by 35 runs as rain forced early stumps on Sunday. In Jammu and Kashmir, Operation Akhal entered its 4th consecutive day on Monday, with fierce exchange of gunfire and intermittent blasts continuing overnight in the dense forests of Kulgam district. The Indian Army has deployed its HAL Rudra attack helicopter armed with a 20 mm turret gun to support the operation. The operation was launched on the evening of 1st August based on specific intelligence inputs regarding the presence of terrorists. The joint teams of the Indian Army, Jammu and Kashmir Police, CRPF and the Special Operations Group are involved in the ongoing operation. So far, 3 terrorists believed to be affiliated with Lashkar-e-Taiba have been killed, while 2 security personnel have sustained injuries. Search and firefighting operations are still underway. Indian security forces have intensified their counter-terrorism operations in Jammu and Kashmir, eliminating several terrorists in separate encounters over the past few days. And Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, retired defence expert, joins us on the show now. Welcome, sir, to DD India News. The forensic documentary and testimonial evidence collected during and after Operation Mahadev conclusively proved that the terrorists who carried out the dastardly Pahalgam attack were Pakistani nationals. Tell us the full significance of this fact, including whether it can be used to corner Pakistan in international fora like that of the United Nations.
No, Tanvi, first of all, I think the international fora knows it pretty well that Pakistan is a sponsor state of terror, and the documents and dossier system which we have been working at is, I think, can fill in a building worth to prove those complicity. In fact, when Osama bin Laden was picked up from Abbottabad, Americans were quite sure what Pakistan is doing. So keeping that aside, coming to the exact problem of this current operation, when Pahalgam happened, there were quite clear indicators that this has not been done by any local hand. It has been done by Pakistanis. And they were quite well trained and hardened terrorists who could have carried out such cold-blooded murder, doing the way the isolation part was carried out in terms of based on religion. This entire event which happened, the dastardly act which happened in Pahalgam, could have been only prosecuted by people who are absolutely brutal killers and terrorists. Now, this facet, which is very important as well, while we carry out analysis of who did it and who did not, but this connection of forensics by finding out the weapon which was there at the Dashgam forest encounter where these 3 terrorists were neutralized, and the casings which have come out at the Pahalgam location, that is very important. There's a technical intelligence or technical forensic, which proves beyond the connection between the Pahalgam and these three individuals. Now, these three terrorists, the most clinching evidence is the presence of the senior leadership of Lashkar-e-Toiba with the family members to carry out the burial or the prayers in absence of body. I think these two things are very clinching. Of course, the paper documents have been found out in terms of voter ID cards and stuff like that, including the addresses of these three terrorists, which have been quite given out by the Home Minister himself, and they have come out very clearly through the voter ID cards. I think they are very, very important for making a strong case, adding another layer, another dossier, another documentary evidence for the world to take note and international bodies to take action against Pakistan to curb this the strategic behavior which they have in terms of sponsoring terror
Yes.
to carry out respective policies. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to add here about the fact that no local Kashmiri was part of the terrorists involved in the Pahalgam attack?
Yeah, while every terrorist is a terrorist, but I must tell you one thing, that there's a very clear distinction. A local Kashmiri terrorist, until is extremely radicalized, will not take a step to carry out such a horrendous act which was done in Pahalgam. There is an incident of Pulwama in which a local terrorist blew himself when we lost 40 brave soldiers of CRPF. But these are exceptions. Any mass killing, any brutal, cold-blooded killing, looking into the eyes of unarmed civilians, is a nature of a Pakistani and a Pakistani terrorist. This is not the culture of Kashmir. There are exceptions, but it is with great sense of relief, at least for me, who has served 7-year tenures, that there was no Kashmiri involved in this act to pick the gun and actually shoot at the people.
Okay. What further useful information can potentially be recovered from the equipment of these terrorists killed in Operation Mahadev, especially their mobile phones and the 2 long-range communication sets?
Correct. I think the satellite communication set, the communication sets are a big giveaway, because these leave digital signatures which can be taken out very clearly, and both from the place where it emanates and is received at, both printing, they are very unique IDs which come about. So this, and plus the conversation which has come about from these 2 sets, that is one in India, one in India, and another one in POK, are a very clinching evidence. I think this will prove beyond doubt that there is a trail of movements taken place from POK through Gurez Valley, coming onto mainland in Kashmir, and then the operation where it happened in Pahalgam, and eventually it has been recovered along with these 3 terrorist bodies. I think it's a very, very clinching evidence, and compliments to NIA and the team which is carrying out this mapping of the forensics which is being carried out in this digital evidence.
What is the fact that Operation Mahadev was successfully carried out over 2 months after the Pahalgam attack indicate about the Indian Army and the Indian government's resolve to punish and neutralize all terrorists and totally stamping out terrorism from the valley?
Tanvi, look, I think Indian Army, the government of India, whichever party which have been in the power would have gone after the terrorists the way they have gone. But what is very unique about this case is that given the sensitivity of event which happened, the act which happened, I think the directions from the government were very clear to all the security forces and agencies that it should not happen that these terrorists get out. Right?
Yes.
And when you look at the terrain, when you look at India as a free country where democracy is there, anybody can just become a normal civilian, travel across the entire country, any corner, and thereafter, the system, it can always actually get out. The compliment really goes to the entire security forces and the government of India, the government of Jammu and Kashmir, to have ensured the pressure was there on them that they could not get out. Actually, when you look at the photographs of the dead bodies and also those men, the terrorists who were alive, you'll find that they have lost nearly about 5 to 10 kgs worth. They're actually become skinny. It implies that they were not being given opportunity to get away from the jungles and to also interact and communicate with the local population to get any support of that sort. So the pressure which was there, and what was actually anguishing for a person like me, people who have not operated in jungles and thus such terrain, they were time and again asking questions. Where are these terrorists? Right? Criminals, after having carried out crime act, they disappeared within the urban cities and they cannot be discovered for years and ages. Right? But here you're talking of dense forests, dense jungles, in which the security forces were being brought to task that you need to find these people. And I'm so glad that this pressure was maintained. They were not allowed to get out of it. And they were trapped inside, eventually into the high reaches of jungles where for a common civilian to go is impossible. You require very, very tough people to reach out. And there were no civilians injured in this entire process of about 95, 96 days. Hats off to Kilo Chinarpur and the entire forces, including Jammu Kashmir Police and the intelligences who achieved what they had to achieve.
Indeed, credit goes to our security agencies. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, for being with us and sharing your thoughts and analysis on Operation Mahadev and the identities being confirmed now as Pakistani individuals. Thank you for being with us. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Amid escalating tensions between Washington and Moscow, Special U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff to visit Russia this week as Trump's peace deadline looms. Brazilian President Lula da Silva admits to limits in his fight with the U.S. government. Canada hopes for something constructive with the U.S. on the trade deal. South Korea's new government of President Lee Jae-myung seeks to ease tensions with Pyongyang. North Korea rebuffs the overtures.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Dozens of trucks carrying aid bound for Gaza moved from Egypt on Monday. Israel has blamed Hamas for the suffering in Gaza. UN agencies say airdrops are insufficient and that Israel must let in far more aid by land and open up access to the territory to prevent starvation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu requested the help of the International Committee of the Red Cross on Sunday to aid hostages in Gaza. The comments came after Hamas released chilling video of starving hostages. The Premier's office said he spoke to the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC coordinator for the region, Julian Lerison, and requested his involvement in providing food to hostages and their immediate medical treatment. Netanyahu also spoke with the families of the hostages and expressed profound shock over the materials distributed by the terror organizations. Over recent days, Hamas and its ally, the Islamic Jihad, have released 3 videos showing 2 hostages seized during the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel that triggered the ongoing conflict. The images of Rome Braslavaske and Evatiatar David, both of whom appeared weak and malnourished, have fueled renewed calls in Israel for a truce and hostage release deal. Earlier in the day, tens of thousands of people had rallied in the coastal hub of Tel Aviv to call on Netanyahu's government to secure the release of the remaining captives. Braslav Aske and David are among the 49 hostages taken during Hamas's 2023 attack who are still being held in Gaza, including 27 the Israeli military says are dead. Meanwhile, Hamas says it will allow aid for hostages if Israel halts the airstrikes and opens permanent humanitarian corridors. Hamas said it was prepared to coordinate with the Red Cross to deliver aid to hostages it holds in Gaza if Israel meets certain conditions. The ICRC said in a statement that it was appalled by the harrowing videos and reiterated its call to be granted access to the hostages. A statement from the Hostages Families Forum said Hamas's comments about the hostages cannot hide that it has been holding innocent people in impossible conditions for over 660 days and demanded their immediate release. And until their release, Hamas has the obligation to provide them with everything they need. Further, the United Nations Security Council will hold a special session on Tuesday morning to discuss the 50 hostages still held by Hamas in Gaza. It was following a request by Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar. So an emergency session will be called on the UNSC on the dire hostage situation in Gaza. Iran's top security body has approved the creation of a new defense council more than a month after a ceasefire ended a 12-day war with Israel. The new body, which will be chaired by the president and include top military commanders among other senior officials and ministers, will be tasked with reviewing defense strategies and enhancing the capabilities of Iran's armed forces. On Friday, local media said that the decision came as part of a broader structural changes to Iran's security apparatus. The move comes in the wake of a conflict with Israel that, according to the official figures, left more than 1,000 people dead in Iran and 29 in Israel. On to the other conflict now. Amid escalating tensions between Washington and Moscow, U.S. President Donald Trump said that the U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is expected to visit Russia this week. After a visit to Israel and the Gaza Strip, Witkoff will travel to Russia, potentially on Wednesday or Thursday.
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions, so we'll see what happens. But Steve is focused right now on the border in terms of, we're talking about with Gaza, getting people fed. And he may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
Donald Trump also hinted of imposing sanctions on Russia if it doesn't agree to ceasefire. The U.S. leader, who returned to power on a pledge to swiftly end the Ukraine conflict, has in recent weeks rolled back his earlier conciliatory approach towards Moscow and signaled openness to arming Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump on Sunday said that some Americans could get some kind of dividend or distribution of money as a result of tariffs being imposed on U.S. trading partners. Trump has imposed tariffs on almost all of its trading partners in order to balance their trade deficit with the United States. Trump first announced the reciprocal tariffs in April, which led to a global financial crisis with stock markets plunging across the world market. Trump had then decided to put the tariffs in moratorium for 90 days and set a baseline 10% tariff for the countries and made room to negotiate deals with the federal administration. The deadline, which was supposed to end on July 9th, was extended to August 1st, and several countries were able to strike a deal with the United States. But there are still countries who are yet to negotiate a deal with the United States. Brazilian President Lula da Silva emphasized the need for caution in discussions with the United States regarding tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump. During a congress of his party, Lula acknowledged that diplomacy requires restraint, saying he recognizes there is a limit to his fight with the US government. He added that he might not be able to say everything he wants to say, so he must focus on what is feasible to discuss. His statement came as tensions escalated following Trump's announcement of a 50% tariff on Brazilian goods and sanctions against Brazilian Justice Alexandre de Moraes under the Magnitsky Act. Trump signed an executive order slapping 50% tariffs on Brazilian imports. A Brazilian judge was also sanctioned by the US for what President Donald Trump called a witch hunt against a far-right ally. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney expressed optimism on Sunday that negotiations with the US on trade would lead to something constructive. Carney, during his visit to Vancouver, also insisted that Canada is strong and would continue building on its own.
We can give ourselves far more than anyone can take away. We're building this great country. I just met with the Premier, building BC, building Canada, building in a Canadian way. Building sustainably, building together, building positively, and that's what we're going to do. And yes, we will we'll come to something with the Americans, something constructive with the Americans.
Carney and the US President will likely talk in the coming days after the US imposed a 35% tariff on goods not covered by the US-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. Canada and the US have been locked in a tariff war for 6 months, and despite the talk of intense negotiations in recent weeks, a trade agreement remains elusive. On to Asia. South Korea's industry minister said on Monday that the country managed to avoid the worst-case scenario by clinching a US tariff deal. Industry Minister Kim Jong-kwon made the comments at a roundtable meeting with business groups and academics. Kim said that the government would continue discussions with the US to work on the specifics of the investment package so it would benefit the country's economy and companies. Under its deal with US President Donald Trump, South Korea also agreed on a $350 billion investment package, including $200 billion in strategic industries such as semiconductors. The rest was earmarked for the US shipbuilding industry. South Korean authorities began removing on Monday loudspeakers blaring anti-North Korea broadcasts along the country's border, Seoul's defense ministry said, as the new government of President Lee Jae-myung seeks to ease tensions with Pyongyang. Shortly after he took office in June, Lee's administration switched off propaganda broadcasts criticizing the North Korean regime as it looks to revive stalled dialogue with its neighbor. But North Korea recently rebuffed the overtures and said that it had no interest in talking to South Korea. The countries remain technically at war after the 1950-53 Korean War ended in a truce, and relations have deteriorated in the last few years. South Korea's dismantling of the loudspeakers from Monday is just a practical measure to help ease tensions between the North and the South, the ministry said in a statement on Monday. And next we take a look at other stories making news around the world. 47 years old Japanese researcher Ribun Kaio keeps searching for the remains of the 1945 atomic bomb attack victims. He believes these victims buried in mass graves deserve dignified farewell. The researcher turned volunteer mentions that his work was inspired by 3 of his own family members whose remains were never recovered. A 4-day-long summer camp witnessed youngsters learning the basics of chip making in Taiwan. The camp is an outcome of the decline in workforce in the chip-making industry of the global chip-making giant. A US-based chip engineer, Synopsys, has been conducting these camps since 2023. Vietnam has added over 300 electric and CNG buses in a move to providing clean energy transport. These buses will add up to 50% fleet now running with clean energy fuels in an environment-friendly move. You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on the show. An exclusive report on Made in India military drones that were instrumental in India's success in Operation Sindoor. Indian Parliament's monsoon session sees more adjournments as the opposition continues to demand a discussion on the electoral revision drive underway in Bihar. And Bangladesh actress Shabnam Faria expresses deep frustration about the state of her country, criticizes political chaos and lawlessness.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Exactly what save your.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Here are the top stories of this hour. Pakistan voter ID cards confirm Pahalgam terrorist Pakistan links. Forensic evidence also establishes association of 3 terrorists with Lashkar-e-Taiba. Operation Akhal in J&K's Kulgam enters 4th day after 3 terrorists neutralized by security forces. Teams zeroing in on the remaining. Canadian report reveals 637 mob-lynching deaths in Bangladesh in 2024-25, causes attributed to political unrest. In cricket, a dramatic finish expected on the 5th day of the final test at Oval. England at 339 for 6 trails India by 35 runs as rain forced early stumps on Sunday. Military drones completely designed and made in India were pivotal in India's success in Operation Sindoor. Our correspondent Nandita Dagar travelled to the Dras sector, bordering the line of control with Pakistan, and filed this special report on the UAVs which are deployed on India's borders. Take a look.
This is a mini remotely piloted aircraft built by Asteria Industries, completely made in India, indigenous, a symbol of self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. This is a UAV which is used primarily for surveillance, and it runs on 2 modes, the turbo mode as well as the cruise mode. This is a huge force multiplier for the artillery units because it can go into the enemy territory and there it can identify the locations which have to be targeted by our artillery guns. The SW remotely piloted aircraft manufactured by Idea Forge Industries, which is completely made in India, indigenous, is also like the other mini remotely piloted vehicle, the AT-15. This also aids artillery units in detecting the targets and locations. It's armed with gimbals or electro-optic and infrared pods beneath its fuselage. This quadcopter, the Q6, is armed with this high-resolution camera, which is an electro-optical and infrared camera, which means that it can see objects at night time also in the dark. Quadcopter, it has 4 rotors. Again, it is aiding the artillery. Trinetra is another quadcopter. You can see that this works with a console, and it is remotely piloted by the army troops using this console. Extremely state-of-the-art with a high-resolution camera and turbo motors which run its 4 propellers. We all know what first-person view drones did in Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb. Now, this is an example of Indian Army's own initiative, own innovation. Our troops in the Indian Army.
Okay, in News Just In, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Sir Gangaram Hospital and paid homage to former Jharkhand Chief Minister Shibu Soren. He passed away this morning. The Prime Minister also met Shibu Soren's family and expressed condolences to the family members and admirers on the passing away of the leader. Former Jharkhand Chief Minister and co-founder of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Shibu Soren, passed away Monday morning. His son, Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren, announced the death through the social media platform X. Soren had been admitted to the Sir Gangaram Hospital in the national capital for over a month due to a kidney-related issue. Here we see Prime Minister Narendra Modi consoling Hemant Soren on the passing away of his father, Shibu Soren. Born on January 11, 1944, Soren was a stalwart leader who dedicated his life to tribal rights and empowerment. Shibu Soren served 3 terms as Chief Minister of Jharkhand and was a Rajya Sabha member from the state. Shibu Soren assumed the role of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha president in 1987 and held the position for nearly 38 years, playing a key role in the party's direction. All right, moving on now. The upper house of Indian Parliament of the Rajya Sabha paid tributes to former Jharkhand Chief Minister Shibu Soren, who passed away at the Sir Gangaram Hospital in New Delhi Monday after a prolonged illness. Rajya Sabha was adjourned for the day as a mark of respect following the death of this sitting MP, Shibu Soren, when the House met at 11 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman Harivansh paid tribute to Shibu Soren, calling him a senior and distinguished tribal leader who played a prominent role in the movement for the rights and upliftment of tribal communities. Harivansh added that throughout his life, Shibu Soren worked for the rights and welfare of the underprivileged. The House observed a silence for a while as a mark of respect to the departed leader. And like we told you, former Jharkhand Chief Minister and co-founder of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, Shibu Soren, passed away on Monday morning. A report on the JMM's founding patron.
Shibu Soren, the founding leader of the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, JMM, and father of the Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren, has left for the heavenly abode on Monday. Born on January 11, 1944, Soren was a stalwart leader who dedicated his life to tribal rights and empowerment. He served 3 terms as Chief Minister of Jharkhand and was a Rajya Sabha member from the state. Soren's activism began early at the age of 18 when he founded the Santhal Nava Yuvak Sangh. In 1972, Soren formed the JMM and held the post of General Secretary. He assumed the role of JMM President in 1987 and held the position for nearly 38 years, playing a key role in shaping the party's direction. Soren's political journey began with grassroots efforts to combat moneylenders' exploitation and alcoholism in tribal areas. President Draupadi Murmu expressed deep sorrow over Soren's passing, calling it a major loss for the cause of social justice. She praised his commitment to tribal identity, his role in the creation of Jharkhand, and his public service as the Chief Minister of Jharkhand and as a Member of Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also paid tribute to Soren, hailing his passion for empowering tribal communities, the poor and the downtrodden. Fondly known as the Shom Guruji, Shibu Soren leaves behind a lasting legacy in tribal politics and regional empowerment. Bureau Report, DD India.
So, under the monsoon session of the Indian Parliament, the proceedings in the lower house are underway. In Lok Sabha, there were several adjournments today due to uproar by the opposition members over various issues. Labour and Employment Minister Mansukh Mandavia highlighted the new dimensions of employment created in the country under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. The minister made the remarks while replying to a question related to employment in the government sector companies.
पिछले 10 साल में मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में देश में रोजगार का निर्माण हुआ, युवाओं को एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिला और पिछले एक साल में 16 महीने में ही भारत सरकार की ओर से 11 लाख से अधिक युवाओं को रोजगार मेला के माध्यम से रोजगार उपलब्ध कराया गया। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं उसके आगे बताना चाहूँगा कि यूपीए गवर्नमेंट के दरमियान 10 साल का हिसाब किताब करें तो 10 साल में केवल 3 करोड़ रोजगार निर्माण हुआ था, जॉब निर्माण हुआ था। कि पिछले 10 साल में रिजर्व बैंक के एस्टिमेट के अनुसार 17 करोड़ से अधिक युवाओं को जॉब प्राप्त हुई, रोजगार मिला। ये हमारी सरकार की युवा लक्ष्य नीति का परिणाम है।
A report by a Canadian agency has highlighted the rise in mob lynching linked deaths in Bangladesh since August 2024 in the aftermath of the political upheaval after former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina left the country. The political instability caused violent disturbances throughout the country, causing mob lynching incidents at many places. The report mentioned the exponential rise in the number of deaths. The incidents rose 12 times in 2024 as compared to 2023. From August 2024 to July 2025. The report mentioned that a total of 51 deaths were recorded in 2023 during Hasina's tenure, which saw a sharp rise to 637 deaths since the new interim government came to power. The report attributed the rise in deaths to various causes, including political instability, lack of trust, and misinformation. In a report released by the Rights and Risks Analysis or RRAG group on Monday, has raised concerns about the growing attacks on media people in Bangladesh under the government of Dr. Mohammad Yunus. The report named Bangladesh Media Freedom Murdered by Mohammad Yunus states that press freedom in Bangladesh has deteriorated sharply. Attacks on the journalists under Chief Advisor Dr. Yunus have increased by about 230%. In comparison to 383 journalists attacked under former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina from August 2023 to July 2024, the number of journalists attacked jumped to 878 from August 2024 to July 2025. Further, to silence media, Yunus established CA Press Wing Facts as the de facto censorship authority of the interim government. According to the report, funding worth £474,000 was provided by the British Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office to finance the CA Press Wing Facts. The RRAG also stated that it will approach the international community, including the Human Rights Joint Committee of the United Kingdom, seeking review support to the interim government of Bangladesh on governance issues, and consider withdrawing bilateral support in the light of the absolute silencing of the media in the country. Now, actress Shabnam Faria expressed deep frustration about the state of Bangladesh in her latest social media post. Faria wrote, and I quote her, "With this post, I'm done writing about politics in Bangladesh because I've finally realized as a nation we are utterly shameless and morally bankrupt." In what she claimed would be her final political post, Faria had written, "And now no one will even grant visas for this green passport. Where are we supposed to go?" She added that no matter how many movements or regime changes occur, even if Nobel Peace Prize laureates come to lead us, no one will be able to stop our corruption and theft. This isn't the first time the actress has voiced her frustration. Even in June, she criticized the country's political chaos and lawlessness. On to weather updates now. The India Meteorological Department issued orange alert for multiple states, predicting heavy rainfall on August 4th. Rain warning is in place for Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. The Met Department forecasted rain in Delhi on Monday. As per the Weather Department, the showers are likely to continue throughout the week in the region. In Bihar, pleasant weather is expected to continue for the next 5 days, accompanied by strong winds that will provide relief from humidity. Monsoon alerts have been issued in several districts. Heavy rainfall is also expected in the hilly states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, as heavy rainfall spells continue to pound parts of Himachal Pradesh. As many as 297 roads remained closed in the hill state, with 164 roads blocked in Mandi district alone. While 67 roads remained blocked in Kulu district, 25 roads were blocked in Kangra and 21 in Chamba district. In the southern part of the country, widespread rainfall is expected in Karnataka over the next 7 days. Similar alerts have been issued for Kerala and Lakshadweep, forecasting continuous rainfall throughout the week. In Sikkim, the National Highway number 10 will remain closed from Coronation Bridge to Chitre for the 3 days. Several incidents of landslides have been reported at National Highway 10 due to rains recently. In view of the weather alerts issued for Uttarakhand, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami held a virtual meeting with the district magistrates of all the 13 districts of the state from the Chief Minister Residence Auditorium this morning. The Chief Minister discussed about the progress of development works in the districts and the preparations to deal with the disaster. Continuous heavy rains since Sunday have affected the traffic on many national highways in Uttarakhand after multiple incidents of landslides. The Border Roads Organisation is working to clear the road and restore the route for essential services and disaster management. Emergency communication channels have been established and contact numbers for District Emergency Operations Centre and Police Control Room have been shared by the administration. Furthermore, Dehradun is also witnessing inclement weather. Continuous heavy rainfall has led to a rise in water levels in rivers and streams. The administration has appealed to the public to stay away from rivers and streams. The state of Uttar Pradesh in India is reeling with flash floods and inundation in low-lying areas in many cities after heavy rain lashed the region. The IMD has issued a red alert for the entire state, warning of extremely heavy rains. Rescue operations are being carried out by the SDRF in Prayagraj, Gonda, Baharaich, Sitapur and Barabanki. Schools have been closed in several districts including Lucknow, Ayodhya and Rai Bareli. Children who had already reached school were sent back home. The administration has appealed to people to remain cautious. 4 people died and more than 5,900 have been evacuated in southern Taiwan after the island recorded more than a year's rainfall over the past week, which caused widespread landslides and flooding. 3 people are missing and 77 injured since late July, when a depression and strong southwesterly airstreams began causing flooding and landslides in Taiwan's south, an area vital for the island's agriculture sector. The government said more than 2,000 people were still forced to stay away from their homes. The rain was likely to subside from Monday, weather authorities said, as warnings for landslide and flooding continued for southern mountains. Typhoon Danis lashed southern Taiwan with record winds in July, in a rare hit to the island's densely populated west coast, which knocked down more than 3,000 electric poles and the worst damage to the island's power grid in decades. Now, Spain and Portugal brace for a fresh heat wave set to sweep the Iberian Peninsula, with Lisbon warning of a very high risk of wildfires. Hot and dry summers are common across the region, but more intense heat waves have contributed to destructive wildfires in recent years amid fast rising temperatures around the globe.
Spain and Portugal are bracing for another punishing heat wave this week, with temperatures expected to soar above 42 degrees Celsius in parts of the Iberian Peninsula. The extreme heat has prompted warnings, with Lisbon declaring a very high risk of wildfires across large swaths of the country. This marks the second major heat wave of the season, coming just weeks after both countries recorded their hottest June on record. Mercury in some areas in Spain is expected to top 42 degrees Celsius in the coming days. Wildfires in southern Europe wreaked havoc this summer, destroying thousands of hectares of forest. With rising temperatures and worsening drought conditions, this season could get even more deadly. Portugal and Spain remain on high alert and have mobilized additional firefighting resources. Bureau Report, DD India.
On to business news now. The Reserve Bank of India's three-day Monetary Policy Committee meeting begins today. Having already slashed the repo rate thrice since February, the central bank is widely expected to hold rates steady in its policy announcement on August 6th. The six-member MPC is also likely to maintain its neutral policy stance, while the inflation estimate for fiscal year 2026 may see a downward revision. The RBI is expected to stick with the current projection for real GDP growth for the ongoing fiscal. Global economic developments, including the recent tariff actions by the United States, are also likely to be closely watched by the central bank for their potential impact on trade flows, commodity prices and imported inflation. US President Donald Trump announced plans on Sunday to name a candidate to fill an open position at the Federal Reserve within the next couple of days. This vacancy arose after Fed Governor Adriana Kagler announced her early resignation last Friday, leaving a key role open at the central bank. In addition, Trump said that he will also announce a new head for the Bureau of Labor Statistics within 3 or 4 days. This comes after he fired BLS Commissioner Erika McEntaffer, accusing her of falsifying job numbers. President Trump on Sunday stood by his decision to dismiss McEntaffer after the release of a disappointing jobs report, despite growing criticism over the move.
I have a couple of people in mind. I'll be announcing somebody for the filling of the person that left. A woman left, as you know, who was I guess a Biden appointment, either Biden or Obama, but I think a Biden appointment. And she left early, and I think she left because she agreed with me on interest rates, and yet they were on the other side of the ballpark, right? So I'll be announcing that probably over the next couple of days.
Now, thousands of members of a union representing Boeing defense industry workers in the U.S. states of Missouri and Illinois will go on strike early on Monday after rejecting a revised proposal for a new contract. The American aerospace giant's initial proposal, which included a 20% wage hike over 4 years and more vacation time, was rejected a week earlier. The new offer doubled the wage increase. The storied company has been in crisis since last year due to the production quality issues and a 7-week strike that crippled 2 of Boeing's major assembly plants. And time now for some sporting action. First, news from cricket. The dramatic 5th and final test between India and England at the Oval moved on to day 5 as bad light and eventual rain forced stumps to be taken early on Sunday. India rode back into the contest after tea on day 4 as England were reduced from 301 for 3 to 337 for 6, with centurions Joe Root and Harry Brook dismissed in the process. The match was slipping away from India, with Shubman Gill's side made to pay after Mohammad Siraj's fielding blunder handed Brook a lifeline. However, 3 wickets from Prasidh Krishna and 2 from Siraj himself have thrown the game wide open. England are aiming to script a record test run chase of 374 at the Oval, while India must win to level the series and retain the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy. England's fast bowling all-rounder Chris Woakes is reported to be available to bat on the final morning at the Oval despite a suspected shoulder dislocation. Woakes was initially ruled out of the remainder of the 5th test against India after sustaining the injury while fielding on the first day and had his left arm in a sling in the dressing room on Sunday, but is prepared to put his body on the line if England need him. Woakes practiced batting one-handed in the indoor school on Sunday and changed into his whites during the evening session, readying himself to bat at number 11 if required. Olympic champions Summer McIntosh and Leon Marchand each took home their respective Swimmer of the Meet honours to wrap up the World Aquatics Championships in Singapore. Both claimed gold medals in the women's and men's 400-metre individual medley. Teenager McIntosh won her 4th gold medal of the week as she finished more than 7 seconds clear of silver medalist Jenna Forrester on Sunday with a championship record time of 4 minutes 25.78 seconds. Frenchman Marchand scrapped through in the men's 400-metre medley heats with a sluggish performance but recovered to win gold. The 23-year-old Paris Games hero set a new world record in winning gold in the men's 200-metre individual medley on Thursday but was 2 seconds shy of breaking the 400-metre world record he set at the 2023 World Championships. In the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro, a historic marathon returned after a 12-year hiatus. Thousands of runners participated in the Rio-Niterói Bridge Challenge, a 21-kilometre race featuring a stunning 13-kilometre stretch across the Rio-Niterói Bridge, the longest in the southern hemisphere. The race began in Niterói and culminated in Rio de Janeiro. Runners were captivated by the vast expanse and unique setting of the bridge, which is usually reserved for vehicular traffic rather than pedestrians or sprinters. And Olympic champion Pauline Ferrand-Prévot scripted history by winning the Tour de France Femmes on Sunday. With this feat, she became the first French woman to win the prestigious multi-stage bicycle tournament. Adding more to her glory, she did it all in her first attempt. In her victory speech, Pauline expressed joy and gratitude, crediting her teammates for helping her overcome early nerves and achieving her dream of winning in the yellow jersey. And that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.